Good morning, good evening, and good day. Thank you so much for watching Attack Power Gaming. Today, due to popular demand, I am making my top 5 favorite 1v1 maps for Steel Division 2. If you enjoy this content, please hit that like button and subscribe. Remember, this video is completely my opinion, is not based on any fact whatsoever, and you cannot sway me from my entrenched opinions on the maps of this game. Let's dive right in. So our first map here is Shedrin. Apologies if I don't pronounce everything perfectly. Nice 1v1 map here. I really actually enjoy this map. I don't play it well. I'm going to say that right away. I lose in this map a lot. But I do like the way it is laid out. I think it's relatively fair map layout. You have, each side has 2 flags really close to the edge here. You get these kind of hillsides. Now the blue gets a little, they got it a little worse than the red because of this flag kind of out here more forward. But, red's got this one on this hill. I mean, this one's just got way more on the hill, so if you can take this hill. But on the flip side, it is much harder to take this hill on this side than it is on this side over here. So I think it balances out pretty well. They also have, you have this flag on this bridge, which is very capturable from the town if you push far enough forward. Yeah, I mean, if my biggest issue with this map is it always feels like a blowout. Whenever I watch someone play on this map or whenever I play on this map, it's you either win big or you lose big. Once someone pushes you off of this hill or this hill over here, something, it becomes very, very challenging to get back on the hill, especially this like large hill up here. If someone is able to post up any sort of AT in these positions, your reinforcement road is essentially cut off and you have no chance getting back on this road. Flip side over here works the same way. Once they can post up some AT over here, reinforcement road gets cut off. You can't get in anymore. If you get pushed out of this town, there's nothing but open ground up here to come in on. Now, the thing is, it's fair. Both sides have similar issues. The same problem with the whole reinforcement road thing applies to both sides. You have these hills on both sides. I like maps that are fair. I like maps that, don't heavily favor one side because I want to win. I want to be playing based on my skill and my division choice, not necessarily did I get the good side of the map kind of thing. So I really like this map for that. I will say it does feel like a blowout most of the time. I think it's just once you fall on the back foot in this map, it's really hard to get back into it, but it's true for both sides. So it's fair in that sense that way, and that's why this comes in at number 5. So here we are with my number 4 choice for my 4th favorite map, and this is Slutsk. I know this one's going to be controversial. I know a lot of players do not like the Slutsk maps in a general sense. I actually enjoy them for the most part. I find them fun to play. They have a lot of interesting different terrain to play on, but there's definitely 1 or 2 maps from my most hated maps that some people really enjoy, and I get that, but hey, that is what it is. I explained why I don't like or like some of the maps. I find this map to be pretty fair. I mean, it's not overwhelmingly one-sided in any way. You have a lot of combat on this hill. This blue flag's close to the edge of the hill, but it is not super challenging to get a lot of reinforcements in here and push. You see a lot of times the red player kind of on the back foot trying to hold this hill. If they lose the hill, they lose this, but on the flip side, it works the same way over here. You have this flag out here, but they also have this flag here. There's some big tank play that you can work with down here. I've seen players make big pushes down here into this area. Those are always really fun. The central hill tends to be a little light on combat. It's not usually a huge fight area. But I don't know. I enjoy this map. I don't think it's badly designed. Like I said, I like all the Slutsk maps. They're not the best. They're not like the absolute killer best maps at all, but I do find they always tend to be good games for me at least, and this one at least is not super imbalanced in terms of the flag layout. It's not perfect. I will not say it's perfect in any way, but if you look at it, it's kind of mirrored of each other. You have this flag and this flag both kind of close. Of course, this side's much harder to capture this red flag. And if you can get on top of this hill, obviously you have great sight lines, all the way around here. But you get these cool like spots to post things up. If red can really secure this, they can overlook the town and make good pushes in here. I think it's an enjoyable map. It's got a good variety of stuff. It is a little lacking in CQC. You don't have a ton of tight forest and stuff. I mean, this is the most close quarters combat you're generally going to get, and a little bit in the town here. It's a relatively tight town. It's got some space, but like in here, you're getting pretty close to stuff. Even here, this is the most open spot here, but to get down this road, you're going to have to fight up here. Of course, all this is really close range stuff. You get some down here, you know, when combat gets into these areas, you know, you can have a little bit, but CQC is probably the biggest issue with this map. It doesn't have a ton. It's definitely a longer range sort of combat, but this slots in at number 4, the regular Slutsk. Here we are with number 3. This is Slusk East. I do want to be clear, I do not like Slutsk West very much. It's not a hated map, but I think the flag layout is total crap. That's the only real issue for me with that map, is the flag layout's really bad. One side gets really badly favored. I like this map a lot. I like how this one plays. So red's a little bit tighter against the 50-50 mark here, but you do have this blue flag down here that can get kind of tight to it. These blue flags are definitely very tenuous because it's very possible and common for red to push off of this hill, you know, to push all the way onto this and capture these 2 flags. So that's very realistic, but I find all this area to be very reasonable to defend. I like the open map down here where you actually get to some heavy tank play, you know, some AA, you know, you get to use your ADH, you get to use your bigger tanks and stuff. Yeah, there's usually a little bit of play down south, not very much though, but you can post up some AT and that generally holds it off. You can get some big fights here in between these 2 flags, which is pretty fun. Lots of machine guns and medium range stuff. Of course, a lot of the combat focuses up in this northern part here, especially on this hill, you know, and in this town here. And yeah, I like the way this one plays. There's a lot of fun sight lines. You can post AT in these places and all that kind of stuff. The infantry combat in here is really fun because it is pretty close quarters, but you have a little bit of openness to work with lighter tanks and things. So I think it's a very micro-intensive map that way. It ends up with a lot more CQC than regular Slutsk, despite the fact the map is very similar, because of this being the main fighting area. You end up having a lot more opportunity to use that close range infantry and stuff. You know, obviously you would suffer down here, but this is where you get to take your big stuff. You get to actually play with your heavy tanks. You get to do that, and that's what I like about the Slutsk maps, is you do have those opportunities to play with units that in a lot of maps are basically unusable. So I find this map enjoyable. I find it pretty fair overall. I think both sides have a good chance. I've seen both sides win on this one, pretty even Steven. And yeah, it's a fun map for me. Again, I know the Slutsk maps are kind of divisive for people. Some people really loathe them. I do not like the other Slutsk. The third one I do not care for, but this one and the normal one I do like. I like it quite a lot. So this is number 3. So here we are with my number 2 pick, and this is Orsha East. Really enjoy this map personally. I think it's really extremely fun. I love the way combat flows. I find the flag layout to be fair, not overwhelmingly crappy or anything. You have you know, each side has a flag over here, so there's always at least some combat here up at the top in the opening, because once you grab it, it's hard to get back, right? You can see these huge open areas on either side. So if you can grab this forest area, post up a little bit of AT support, you know, you basically have it locked down. It doesn't need a lot after that, but it is still possible. You can sneak infantry up, you know, down through here and back into the forest. So it's a fun area to fight over. Then of course we have the town in the middle, and it's a cool town because it's basically just 2 long strips here. So there's open area here for tanks to really like battle out in the middle here, which I find pretty enjoyable because you can get a good mix of vehicles and infantry fighting in this area. You have this little open spot here that allows for, you know, your longer range infantry to actually have some use, which I find fun. But on the flip side, you can still hide your CQC infantry in these tighter spots. A lot of times you have a lot of like machine gun battles in this area here. Then this blue flag is hard to grab, but on the flip side, it's much easier for blue to grab this red flag. So I find that kind of evens out. You know, this is much harder for red to hold. This is very hard for blue to hold because, you know, you can't get reinforcements to there, and it's actually pretty easy for red to drive reinforcements up right up to this forest line and just pour them into the town. This is basically even Steven here. You have 2 little complexes that you can fight over. Red's got some nice sight lines over it though, so it definitely is a little more helpful. But on the flip side, blue can kind of put stuff behind this hill and really stop them from moving forward with support. And then you have this cool southern area, which is a lot of CQC, a lot of yellow forest here with some green patches mixed in. I just find it to be a very enjoyable map. I like Orsha East a lot. I find it pretty even. This hill is cool. It's obviously a major fighting point because if you obviously get pushed all the way off the hill, I mean, you're probably losing anyway, but at that point the opponent can really just kind of post stuff up and block your reinforcements completely, though that doesn't happen very often. I think it's a fun map. I mean, there are definitely some dead spots in this map. Like, this area doesn't see a lot of combat. You know, sometimes there's some AT unit weapons and stuff, a tank here or whatever. But this is definitely, like, it's too open. right? And it's too close for heavy tanks, and it's too open for infantry. So that's where this falls in like a weird spot in terms of like the terrain. You know, medium tanks are easily popped by AT weapons over here, so you can't really send a lot of tanks in here. This is way too much open ground for infantry, so you can't really use infantry, so you end up with this weird, like, nothing works in this area here. So that spot's a little odd, I won't deny that. But otherwise, I think it's a fun, you know, you can use your heavy armor a little bit down here. You know, you can definitely make use of your heavier stuff a little bit here. You can you can make use of a lot of CQC infantry, both in the town here, up in that forest there, and in the forest down here. I think it's a good map, and I think all divisions have an okay chance to shine on this map. You're not, like, totally locked out by your division choice on this map. So, Orsha East is number 2. And we now arrive at number 1, and to anyone who watches the channel, I'm sure this is no surprise whatsoever, but it is the one, the only, the OG, even Steven map of SD2, Orsha North. I absolutely adore this map. Why? Because it's almost perfectly even. It's really fun to play on. You get a massive variety of everything. You can play almost any division on this map successfully. I would argue very strongly that any division can be played on this map to relative success. There's really no division that, like, completely can't function. You know, if you're really light on infantry, that you can suffer a little bit on this map. You do need enough because you're obviously have these 2 large CQC areas here, but even if you take an armored division, there's plenty of room to play with. You know, this whole middle area is basically open ground to play with your heavier armor and such. So you're never even locked out if you play a heavier division, you know, like a tankier division. You still have capability to do things. And most importantly, it's just even. Like, I feel like when I play on this map, it's based on my skill, how I play the game, you know, how my division choice matches up against my opponent's division choice, and how well I play the game. It's not because of the map. You know, if I lose this map, I know it's because I got outplayed, and that's simply it. Or the division matchup was awful or great or whatever it was. So I really enjoy this map because of that. I find it's very possible to push and make aggressive pushes. I think aggression is rewarded on this map, which I think is really cool. You're not really punished for actually making attacks on this map as much, but it's also very defendable. You know, you have a perfectly fair, each side has this little hill that overlooks the other side's town and allows you to stop any sort of pushes right into your side. But on the flip side then, you know, they have the same thing on the other side, and it's very possible both sides have a road going to the opposing town to essentially make attacks at it, is really what it ends up being. Then you have these hills. So on this side we have 3 flags clustered here, and on this side we have 3 flags clustered here in these kind of north and south hills with these little complexes in the middle. Now, they're not exactly the same. Do understand this is not perfectly symmetrical. If you look at these 2 flags, this one's in a forest, this one's in a little complex. You know, this flag here is in this little complex here, while this one's in a forest over here. But again, you can kind of see the symmetry here: forest, complex, 2 in the town, 2 in the town. We have the, you know, this one in the complex, this one in the forest, this one in the outside complex, complex, forest. You know, so it really is complex. It is very symmetrical, but it's not exactly perfectly the same. It's slightly different, but essentially, you know, when you really start to boil it down, it is extremely similar, which I like personally. I like my map to be fair. I like to be able to play based on my skill and my division. I find that much more enjoyable. And of course, again, this map has a lot of options. There's so many ways to play this one. I've seen people attack in all different parts of this map and push in all different ways, which is why I think it's really, really fun. You're really not priced into a certain strategy. That's my big problem with the big river maps, is you're forced into attacking certain places because of the bridges, which is realistic and just like real war would have been, but in a gaming sense, it's not very enjoyable. It does not make for a varied experience, which gets old. A map like this, though, gives you all kinds of options. There's all kinds of places to attack. There are, of course, more advantageous spots. You know, this large cluster of flags here and here is obviously something you'd want to take or whatever. You know, it's more beneficial to attack these 3 red flags over this 1 red flag, but you know, that's on both sides, so it's an even trade both ways. So I find this map really, really enjoyable. I think this is the best map in the game personally, and again, it's basically just a symmetrical map that they made, and that's why I like it. But you know, can't hate a guy for liking the game being about my skill and not the map. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If please drop a like if you enjoyed it. Put a comment down below. Let me know what your favorite map is and why, and have a fantastic day.